Hi, I'm Sonia Falayan, and thank you for tuning into my YouTube channel, Mind and Manna. Here we talk about financial self care, and I center the content on this channel for Black women, mature Black women who are thinking about retirement, who are at retirement age, or approaching retirement age, or younger women who are starting to think about what their options might be. What I'm hoping is that this channel will attract those who are interested in working on your finances, so that so that these women can live to have a more impactful and intentional way of life that includes freedom, rest, travel, and ease. And in my coaching practice, I help women to align with those goals that are consistent with their values to help them live the lives that they desire. Um, Tonight, I can we just talk about can we talk about gentrification? I want to talk about gentrification. As a resident of Mexico for the last 3 years, I've learned a lot and I've seen a lot, and I really no longer promote people moving here. But before I get to that, I want to ask you all, if you're watching, to please like, subscribe, share, and comment, so that I can get the algorithm going. I've sort of been plateaued at around 850 or so um, subscribers, and I'm really trying to get to 1,000. So your interaction, and I have a lot of people who are watching, and I'm very, very grateful. But if you can also give a like or make comments, that really does help the algorithm to get going, and it helps me to get closer to my goal. So I'd like you to stick around to the end. This won't be very long, but I do want to share some perspectives. Um, as I said, I am no longer actively promoting or encouraging people to move to Mexico. And there are a couple of reasons for that. Um, since I've been here only 3 years. So I am just really getting my toe in the water in terms of figuring out what it means to live outside of the country for an extended period of time, and to begin to understand and really fully appreciate the culture and lifestyle here in Mexico. I absolutely love it here. But I also know, and I've seen since I've been here, prices going up. And I've also seen um, that the presence of foreigners in the country is oftentimes making it difficult for indigenous people to live and occupy the land and to live within their means. Um, and I also know that this is a phenomenon that's happening around the world. It's not just happening here, it's happening everywhere. Um, so I wanted to say a few things about gentrification. And I want to start with a simple definition of it, because gentrification really is, it's a multifaceted, complex, multi-layered phenomenon. It's a global phenomenon. It certainly isn't just happening here. I certainly saw the effects of it in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I moved here from, and where I still am a resident. But in simple terms, gentrification refers to the process of wealthier, more affluent individuals and families moving into previously low income or working class neighborhoods or communities. The influx of new residents and investments can often lead to changes in the area's character, culture, and economy. We have been seeing Mexico City just really fighting back because the influx of digital nomads who are living there, uh, buying up property. Of course, it's creating higher prices of food, rent, housing, and they're starting to push back, saying we really don't want as many foreigners here because you're taking up more of our space. Mexico City, depending on who you ask, is a city of between, it could be, some people can say it's 25 million people, some say it's 40 million people. It's a lot of people. And neighborhoods are starting to really feel the pressure of newcomers, but it's not just newcomers. It's primarily newcomers who are coming with a certain um, privileged attitude. Um, and so when I say I am no longer encouraging people to move here, I am very sincere about that. I'm not encouraging people to move here unless they're willing to come with a certain attitude and a certain way of life where they're willing to integrate and become a part of the community. There are certainly enough gated communities here where people are not willing to learn Spanish. They're not willing to know their Mexican neighbors or indigenous neighbors. They're not willing to associate with anyone outside of the walls of their gated communities. Um, that is not helpful because many people with those kinds of attitudes and provincial perspectives are asking and expecting the culture to adapt to them rather than coming here and adapting to long-standing culture and traditions where maybe we can add some flavor to what's going on here. But that's different from expecting the um, the long-standing culture and traditions for millennia to adjust to them. I have heard people in the surrounding community, which has a large expat population, to go into stores and tell these shop owners, you need to speak English. I just think that is just I think that's so wrong. What I know is that Mexican people are more than happy to work with us. They are delighted when we are willing to speak Spanish, or if we want to learn Spanish, they love to take time to show us. They they love it when we express a desire to be a part of the community and to get to know them better. Um, as I had said, the prices, there's also a misnomer about Mexico being cheap. Mexico is not cheap. The cost of living is lower than in the United States, but prices are going up globally around the world. So when you make the decision to move, it is important to have a way of making sure that you can take care of yourself, and so that you're not going to be a burden on the local community. Um, just imagine a neighborhood that was once home to local family-owned businesses, affordable housing, a strong sense of community. So as and I see that here. I see strong community. I see um, a wide range of income capabilities. There are very, very, very extremely rich people in Mexico. There are people who are extremely poor. That's also a global phenomenon that we're seeing more and more. But what I have seen are cohesive neighborhoods, cohesive families. Um, I don't see a lot of homelessness here because people tend to take care of homeless people in their families. Um, uh, Mexican people pretty much don't put their elderly loved ones in care facilities. There are care facilities popping up here, but it's usually Americans and Canadians and people from the UK who are bringing their people here. Mexican families tend to take care of their elderly at home. So, what I've seen since I've been here are um, definitely strong, cohesive communities, but I'm seeing more and more cars, there's more and more traffic. Um, I'm seeing even in Chapala, which is a medium-sized village of about 50,000 people. I'm seeing more, and in some of the lakeside communities, more um, fast food, uh, American-based companies that are taking I'm not going to say they're taking the place of mom and pop restaurants. There is a desire among some Mexican people to have chicken nuggets or to have Popeyes. Um, these are oftentimes these are usually Mexican owned franchises. So, if this is what the community wants, I'm all for it. But certainly, rents and the cost of housing has gone up exponentially. We know that that's happened also since the pandemic, but I have certainly seen it happen in the 3 years that I've been here. Um, we're seeing an influx of outsiders who are potentially displacing residents and changing the community's demographics, as I had talked about before. The other thing that this brings are increased property values and taxes, and that oftentimes makes it difficult for residents and businesses to afford to stay. And certainly, I'm seeing the impact on communities such as Chapala. These are have been traditional communities. They do not have the infrastructure to handle a lot of traffic, a lot of extra cars. I do see Chapala putting in a lot more infrastructure, and I am seeing more cars. In the 3 years that I've been here, I'm seeing fewer people riding on horseback, or I'm seeing fewer horses in traffic because of the influx of people. Um, Chapala is a very picturesque town on the shores of Lake Chapala. Uh, it's a charming place. The climate is mild. We have the beautiful Lake Chapala, which is surrounded by the beautiful Sierra Madre Mountains del Sur. The relatively low cost of living has attracted many expats. There have been expats here for decades. There is a community of Black women that have been here. Some have been here as long as 30 years. But certainly, with the with the conclusion of the pandemic was a catalyst again for migration, for people to move, and people are congregating in these towns. Personally, I do believe that traveling and migration is a human right. People have a right to move and to travel and to live where they choose. By the flip side of that, communities also have a right to determine when enough is enough, or when too much is too much, or when they can no longer afford the infrastructure that new people are bringing in. So, my suggestion is that people start looking beyond the concentrated areas and look to move maybe in smaller towns that are in close proximity to the larger cities. Um, the prices are going to be lower, and you'll have access to a more traditional way of living. Now, uh, I do have a new business here in the state of Jalisco, and we are working. My business partner and I are working very closely with the municipality of Chapala so that we can integrate in a holistic fashion. Um, we have talked to we have two city officials that are mentors for us, and their perspective is that gentrification is going to happen. It's going to happen. There are negative aspects to it and positive aspects to it. And as city planners, of course, that is going to be the perspective that they have. There certainly are some benefits to gentrification, such as increased economic activity, improved infrastructure, um, more opportunities for education, but it does pose significant challenges because in Chapala, gentrification has led to the displacement of low income residents. As property values and rents have risen, many longtime residents are being priced out of their homes and are forced to relocate to other areas, just as I was saying before. The other thing is we're seeing some loss of local culture and character, just as I had talked about before. The influx of new businesses and residents is changing the town's cultural identity. And some people are arguing that Chapala itself is losing some of its original traditional Mexican charm. I've also talked about the increased cost of living, the rising cost of food and housing and other living expenses is making it difficult for existing residents to afford the basics. Um, Clothing here is very expensive. It's not, the clothing here in town is not, um, the knit products are not of good quality. What we would be expected to purchase in the United States, I would have to go to Guadalajara or a larger city, to a shopping mall, an upscale mall, to find things of higher quality. Um, the cotton goods are of good quality. Those are pretty much locally made. Um, so those are some things to think about. Shoes are not really well made here. Um, there's not a lot of There are some leather workers who make traditional shoes, and some stylish fashions. Um, but for the most part, if I'm going to really replace some leather goods or high quality uh, knit items, I'm going to buy them in the United States, or I'll go to a larger city here and purchase them. More than likely, for really high quality woven items, I'm going to buy it in the United States because the shipping costs, um, and the extra costs of associated with buying things here are going to be higher. So it's just cheaper for me to buy them at home and bring them back here. Um, Also, we're seeing a strain on local resources. Because the growing population is putting pressure on the local infrastructure, such as the water and sewage systems, and there's a potential strain on community resources like healthcare and education. Uh, so gentrification is a very complex issue. Mexico is a multifaceted nation. And while we do know that gentrification can bring some benefits, it's really important for us to consider, as immigrants, our impact on the community and ways that we can mitigate our impact here. And so the key for me, and for my business partner and for many of us in the community here who are here as immigrants, we're really looking to find a balance that that can preserve the community's culture and traditions. And we want to make sure that we can find ways to um, work in community. Things do change, culture does change, times change. I'm very much aware of that. Um, Change is going to happen. But what's important to me is that I am being a part of change that's going to have a sustainable impact. I want to be a part of positive social change, integrating with the community, finding some ways to problem solve, because I do believe that there are positive ways that we can mitigate the effects of gentrification and make things mutually better for all of us. And what I would like to do and what I will do in my next video, part two, is I'm going to talk about some ways that we can mitigate gentrification. So stay tuned for part two. I'm going to post it 24 hours after I post this one. Um, this is January 13th. I'm going to post this no later than January 15th, and then 24 hours later, I'm going to post the next video. So please stay tuned. And again, like and share and subscribe. And I will see you the next time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in as we talk about this important topic of gentrification. Really appreciate you watching.